We are live here today with my friend Tatiana, and she, I met her because she is in my mentorship group, and we just connected since then. She's a really dope person, and she's on here today to tell us her story, kind of where she got to where she is now, how she overcame her thoughts, and then she's going to get into like the power of thoughts and how you can, at the end of the day, change them to benefit your life and to get out of the victim mentality.
Yeah.
What's up, girl?
Thank you. Hi, guys. So yeah, what you said, my name is Tatiana. And so the power of our thoughts. So just a backstory on me. I used to be a very negative person. I struggled with severe anxiety and depression for years, and I was medicated for, I don't even remember how long I was on medications for, and I was constantly going to therapy. And I like took kind of pride, or like I wouldn't say pride. I just like embodied that. And I was like, I'm a complainer, like deal with it. And if you don't like it, don't be my friend. Like sometimes when I think about like the things I used to say, I was like, what was I thinking? Like, why was I embodying that and like proud of being a complainer? Yeah. And I played a lot of the big victim mentality, like why me, poor me. And due to that, I like mixed with bad mindset and people pleasing. Society played a big role in what I was doing with my life. So like after high school, I went to college because that was like the thing to do. I got a degree in engineering. I was miserable for 2 years. And like when I was in corporate for 2 years, I was constantly miserable until I just hit a point where I was like, well, what am I doing? Like, why can't I just be happy? Like my health was a mess. I just didn't even know like what I wanted, why honestly at one point, like what I was living for, like why was I alive to be so miserable and unhappy? It got really dark at times. And so as I worked on my physical health, eating good foods, losing weight, I started tapping into more of like the mindset and the personal development realm, and just really understanding the power of our thoughts. And at the end of the day, like we have the choice to become aware of our thoughts and to take control of our thoughts and our feelings instead of them allowing to control us. We have the choice to respond a certain way. Like if somebody insulted you, you have the choice to either sit and dwell and hold a grudge and like let that negative energy sit, or you have the choice to be like, whoop, and like let that insult just fly on right by you, right? And be like, that's your issue, that's your projections of yourself onto me, right? And so what I really learned within my health journey was really the power of thoughts. And as I started working with clients and I made a whole transition from engineering to clients, I realized it's not always like the nutrition or the workout. Sometimes it can be your mindset and your blocks and your limiting beliefs and your value in yourself and how you speak to you. Like you believe you're worth that transformation that you want. And so I definitely would love to talk to you guys about what I believe more in like the power of your thoughts. So before I go on, did anybody have any questions like on my backstory? I know sometimes I talk fast, so I want to make sure I slow things down.
You're doing a great job. I think maybe one thing that might be better clarified is, let's say you are in a position where you know that it's not your calling. Like, how did you make that transition?
So like finding what my calling was, or how did I just take the leap?
Let's say you knew and you're looking for the leap.
Okay. Well, if like I was fearful, so just so you know, I was making great money and I hated my life and I knew I wanted to get out of Boston. That's where I'm from. So within like I would say maybe 36 hours, we'll give it 36 hours. I agreed to sign a lease in Florida and move down, tell my mom. And the next day I told my job I was done. I was quitting. Had absolutely no plan. But I just realized like, okay, if I don't do it now, then what? Like what's holding us back? Fear. And fear of what? Failure. But failure doesn't exist. It's only feedback. It's only lessons. And if we allow the thoughts and the feelings of failure to control us, then we're never going to get out of it, because they're in control of us versus us being in control of them. And when we do things that we're fearful of or are uncomfortable or the unknown, that's when magic happens. And the reason why that fear of failure comes into play, but also the fear, is because we want to have the control of like the unknown. It's so uncertain. It's so unknown. How are we going to do it? But the desire and the need to have that control is really the need to be controlling the past, because the past is the only thing we know, the only thing that's certain, because it's already been there. But the future is so unknown, uncertain. But when we become aligned with who we are and what we want, and we start taking our power back of our emotions and our feelings, that's when we can look at these situations and be like, okay, well, I really have no idea what's going to happen, but the worst case scenario is I'm going to end up right where I'm at, a miserable corporate job. That's the worst thing that was going to happen to me. So I was like, okay, that's literally what I said. I was like, I'm just going to go all in, because why not? When else will I do it? Right? Am I going to wait 10 years from now when I'm maybe trying to get married and have kids? No. And even if I did, like, now is always the moment to take the leap, to quit your job, to make the investment, to try to lose weight, whatever your goals are. There's never a more perfect time other than now. That's all we have. The past is already gone in the past. The future, you're not guaranteed. You have this 1 second, right this second, that moment. It literally goes by in a second. So it's like, if you're not going to take that control and you're going to allow the thoughts and fears to overpower you and take control, then who's in control of your life, you or those fears and self-doubts, right? So for me, I realized that, and I was like, okay, I'm just going to go all in. Worst case scenario, I move back home, I find a corporate job, and then what? It's not failure. It's just feedback. It's just a different pivot, a different lesson to be learned, right?
Yes, I absolutely love that. And that one phrase that we say often in the group is, if you fail, you're just going to end back right where you already were. Like, you know how to get back to where you have been. So it's like, okay, let's say everything did go wrong for you. Okay, you're going to be able to get a job as an engineer again. You've done that before. You're going to be able to get an apartment. You've done that before. You're going to be able to fend on your own and figure life out. You've done that before. So a lot of the fear that's holding us back, how valid is it? Like, where is it stemming from? Why are we being controlled by our fears? Because I think I was actually just talking about this a minute ago. Like, we almost create these like false beliefs and these stories that we live by, and then they keep us in this like safe place, and it keeps us in this place where we're able to defend like our story. And like, we live our life by defending these stories that we've created. So
yeah,
I guess like, we know how you kind of made the jump, but when in your mind did you realize like you kind of had one or the other? Like, was there a specific situation that happened, or was it just like compound over time?
It was a little bit compounded over time. So when I started my weight loss journey, that's when I dove into podcasts, reading like self-help books, mindset, not that much mindset books, but like personal development books that touched on mindset. And like slowly, like, I began with affirmations and like visualizations and trying to envision what I wanted. Like I knew of law of attraction, but I didn't really know how to tap into it. I hadn't done meditating yet. I really wasn't into journaling, but I was like, okay, like the affirmations make me feel good. And not even that, I just shifted my mindset. So instead of like freaking out when someone cut me off, I'd be like, okay, like maybe you're in a rush. Like, I'm grateful that I'm not in a rush. I'm grateful that didn't cause an accident. And it just little by little. But I would say the biggest, honestly, I was miserable. I was crying to work every single day. Like, I don't know how much more miserable you can get. And there's only a certain point where you're just like, I mean, to be honest, I was on Instagram, seeing all these influencers, seeing all these people, and I'm like, how can they love themselves and their life so much, and I can be so dark? Because at that point, I started loving myself, and I started feeling good and being happy. But the one thing that was draining me was my job and my living my situation. So the one thing, I guess if you had to say like that moment, I would say maybe I came down to Florida for an interview for like a cruise line in Miami. I honestly came just for a free trip. And just in that interview, because I was like, okay, maybe it's just my specific corporate job. If I just move locations, which I always wanted to do, I would do it. And I just remember sitting in that interview and I was like, this is not for me. Like, even in Florida, this isn't for me. Like, I can't do this. And so I knew when I got back home, I was like, I don't really know what I'm going to do, but I just need to take a leap and just have to go for it. Right. And that's kind of what I did. It kind of like gave me a push. Like, it wasn't my specific industry, or it was like I was just being so unaligned to what I was, because at the time I was part-time personal training, and that's what like set my soul on fire. It was helping people. So I was like, nope, I have to do this. I have to get out of Boston. And I needed to at least say I tried.
Gotcha. So let's like hypothetically say that there's a person who is very unhappy, kind of in the situation you're in, but they still haven't maybe found that purpose or that drive, or they know they need to make a change, but they're so frozen right now, right? Like that's a very common place, I think, for Americans to be, is we know there's no like flight or fight anymore. It's just freeze. Like we're all just frozen in time and we're too afraid to make the next step. So what would you say to somebody that's feeling like that?
I would say it's time to level up and invest in somebody that's going to help guide you, and going to especially invest in someone who is maybe who you want to be. Like you see a lot of like, wow, I would love to, you just look up to them, right? And so I've invested in myself plenty of times, but the first coach I ever did was a health coach, and a little bit more on the influencer side. And I just was like, you know what? Like I wanted to learn initially how to have a better relationship with foods and eat cookies and lose weight. And then from there, I invested in a business coach because I wanted to have the lifestyle and the business that she did. So it's like, honestly, that's what I would say. I was like, if you are not, if you're not sure on even what your purpose is, I would say you have to take time to be by yourself and do the inner work and finding coaches. I know you and I, we coach really deeply on like finding alignment, finding like life coaches, finding your purpose. And I know like, oh, that's scary, like an investment, but I mean, you're not doing it on your own. If you're frozen, then you need the guidance and you need the help, right? We look for coaches to teach us how to play sports properly. We look for teachers to teach us certain things. So why not ask somebody ask somebody for help who's gone through it already, or who's an expert in it. And it's been the best decisions I've ever made, was always invested in myself. It just got me to that next level sooner.
I completely agree. Like coaching has completely changed my life. Like having a coach and then also just coaching other people. It's just like, it gives you a perspective of so many different things that you've just never had before and never would have the chance if you weren't being guided. Yeah. I also think that there's a lot of the times where maybe we're just not looking at the signs. I think there's a lot of signs in front of us, always like, where is the right direction to go? And it's just blatantly in front of you, but you can't see it. So like, for instance, maybe you want to coach, right? And you keep finding yourself like on their page or somehow doing stuff with them. It's like, okay, why does that keep coming into your life? Or maybe you want to get a new job, and every single time like you go outside, you keep seeing like the same banner saying the same word that you've been thinking of, right? Yeah. It's there, it's in our like our minds. It's just, why aren't we seeing it and listening to it? Like, do you have any advice on like maybe thinking, like seeing the signs? Would that just be more journaling and becoming more in tune with what you're actually wanting?
Yeah, I would be for me, that's what happened to me. Like I started noticing it was 11:11. Like I know it's a very common synchronicity that people notice, but like becoming aware of the signs. If someone just brought up the topic, don't just brush that off like, oh, I thought about that yesterday. Be like, no, that just happened for a reason. And it's like, stop brushing it off and do a little bit deep digging. Maybe it is the journaling, or maybe it's like writing down like, okay, this happened today. If this happens again, like speak to whatever it is you believe in, God, higher power, universe. Be like, okay, if this truly is a sign, do it again. Do it again. And like, you'll notice like, and like today I've been noticing a lot of synchronicities. And of course I'm thinking about like where am I going to live next? And I was saying 6 feet, and I keep seeing it, and I'm like, oh my God, is this a sign? Like, is this like a confirmation? So it's just getting really aware and in tune of your surroundings. And I feel like the best way to do that is by slowing down and taking time for yourself to observe your thoughts, to journal, to meditate, because we're always on the next thing. Our society is so fast paced. So it's easy to miss the signs or miss whatever's really right in front of your eyes, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I completely agree. It's kind of mind-blowing to think back, you know, and you can relate too. I was definitely like the person you used to be as well. You know, if you don't like me, then get the fuck out of my life type, you know, like, wow, why was I so hard? Like, what did people do to me? Like, what did I do to myself? You know? Oh gosh, I don't even know where I was going with that now.
Well, you're talking about the synchronicities and being aware. So like, it takes inner work. It takes time for you to connect to yourself and be in tune with yourself to then be able to notice these things, right?
Yeah. So I guess where I was going with that then was, let's say we have the person who just can't slow down and they know they have to do these things, but they just can't figure it out. How do you help somebody slow down? Like maybe what's like 1 or 2 action steps someone on this video call could take right now if they're the busy bee?
For me, so I get that. I don't even want to put the label on it, but like I did struggle with like ADHD, very, very hyperactive. Like I have a lot of energy, big extrovert. What I started doing was big, long, slow, deep breaths. If you close your eyes or just sit in your room and focus on your breath and just like really focus in on, you know, thinking about the inhale, holding it, thinking about the exhale, you're concentrating on your breath. And naturally, just this way our nervous system works, you're going to calm down, right? And like then that's how I got into meditation, was first just focusing on my breath, because at first my heart rate was going, I was breathing, I was like squirrel, I wasn't coming down, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Breath work.
I completely agree. Breath work has truly helped me change my nervous system. You're right. Most people are sitting in that like sympathetic state of mind all the time, and they're just jittery, ADHD, can't focus on anything. And I mean, regardless of like the mindset issues that it creates, it wreaks havoc on your body and your immune system and your hormones and your thyroid and autoimmune diseases and the way you digest food and the way you sleep. Like it's just so important. So, you know, I guess getting down to like some of the action steps, like breathing's one of the most basic human functions, but it's so underutilized. And, you know, you and I've had some extensive conversations about breathing and how like no one even knows how to breathe correctly. And that's also causing huge issues.
Yeah.
So we can't calm down. So if we can't calm down and find out ways to calm down, how are we supposed to focus on like things like affirmations and journaling?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So breathing is a big one. Another thing for me was going on a walk with no phone. I would say you could do light music. When I mean light music, I mean instrumental music. But like, honestly, just going on a nature walk, like just pay attention and listen, like listen to the birds, listen to whatever noises are going around, like pay attention to yourself and your surroundings versus the music that's in your head or like scrolling through Instagram while you're walking. That's another way that's really helped me kind of calm down. And again, you can focus on your breath work while you're walking.
I really like that one. You can honestly kill multiple birds with one stone. I mentioned that to the ladies in this group in the first call, like going on your mindful walk, thinking about affirmations, listening to your breathing, you know, working on your mindset, asking yourself some questions while you're doing it. There's so many things you can like do and be productive, and it doesn't take a bunch of time. So, you know, one of the biggest excuses right now is just, I don't have time. But to say you don't have time for 10 minutes of walking or breathing is honestly insane. And, you know, not to be little, I mean, I am one of the, I'll call you out coaches, so here it goes. But, you know, for anyone who's watching the recording, thank you. but I guarantee that there's going to still be half the group that isn't on here and then isn't going to watch the recording. It's like, why are you putting yourself in these situations where you keep failing yourself, right? Just own up, find the time. It's making the time, right? Because, gosh, I just posted a quote on Instagram today that was like, you know, if you want something bad enough, you're going to find the time. Everything else is just an excuse.
Yep.
So.
No, I agree. Like the people who say they don't have the time to meditate or walk, I'm like, you're the person that needs to do it the most. When I used to make that excuse and I read that and I was like, I got called out and I was like, damn it. Okay. But not even that, like shift your thought and your words. So it's, I don't have the time. It's like, no, it's not a priority to me. And then think about how that stings. Cause we already know, like, let's go on your phones and see how many hours you spend a day on Instagram. It shows you now. And I tell my clients, I go, let me see it. If you didn't have time to,
it's so bad.
How long were you on Instagram today? You know? And so just shifting the mindset, it's like, oh, it's not the time. Maybe it's not a priority. And like, of course, you know, life happens. There's times where like you don't have time, maybe kids or, you know, work was crazy. Like I get that, but on a day-to-day basis, every single day, that's when you got to play out like the excuses versus the reality, right?
100%. So it's about maybe not being perfect, but finding the space and the time most days, because we're all multitasking. Some of us are mothers, some of us have really extreme careers, but is waking up 10 minutes earlier really going to hurt if you get to spend that 10 minutes like with your eyes closed and setting intentions for the day? Because I know that I'm not alone in this, because I've talked to so many people that get into the practice of meditating, but when you can sit in the morning and spend some type of prayer time, journal time, meditation time, whether it's 10 minutes or an hour, like, you know, if you have time, great, put on a trance and just be, but it changes my day.
No, I agree.
I have such a better like anger tolerance, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I agree. It's helped my anger. I had anger issues. I had to go to anger management. But being able to slow down, you have the power. It's your choice to get in a state of mind, or your choice to do things. A really good book, The Perfect Day Formula, like Craig Valiant. If you struggle with time management, I would read that. I would recommend it, because he kind of just is like, because like mindset and self-care, that's a priority. That's a priority. Yes, she has it.
Oh, you do?
It's good. And it pretty much just, have you read it?
I have, and I'm going to have to reread, but it is an excellent, excellent book. So highly recommend.
Good. And it's an easy read for anybody watching.
Yes.
It's so easy, but it's true. Like your mindset, your self-care, that's a priority. And with my clients, you know, they feel guilty or selfish. Why? Because society has ingrained that in our heads. But like, if you're not taking care of yourself, you're literally running on an empty tank of gas. Your car can't get anywhere. So how do you expect yourself to get anywhere or do anything for yourself and others? How are you going to show up as the best employee, wife, or mom if you aren't doing things for yourself and your mindset and self-care? So that's a good book to help you find the balance with life and time management. I really recommend it.
Yeah. Would you say it's a book for anyone, even beginners that are getting into mindset work?
Yeah. Yeah, I read it 2 years ago, and I started this whole like journey. I don't even remember what year we're in. 2020, 2017.
I know, right?
But yeah, it was one of my beginning books. So yes, I do recommend that that book for beginners for sure.
Very good. I'll put it on the reading list. I'm going to make a little bit of a reading list for everybody on here if they want to do their own self-development. I mean, I have a book club that I do every Wednesday. It's actually after this phone call. So if anyone wants to stay for that, that would be awesome. We're going to actually be talking about almost the same stuff that we're talking about right now, because like, it just so happens to be some of the main chapters in the part of the book. So it's kind of cool. Like, you know, you just said like, signs keep showing up. Like I've had the same phrase, like, you know, why aren't you going for like, you know, what are you afraid of? I guess, like, why are you holding back? Like presented to me like 3 times today. So it's like, you know, what in my life am I doing that? Like, where do I feel that hold? So some stuff to think about. I need to take my journal and go sit outside.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think it's important to note that, like, it doesn't matter where you're at in your journey, there's always more to grow and self-discover. Like, and there's fears and self-doubts with anyone. And like, I don't know about you, Allie, but like, I did make the transition from just weight loss coaching to life. I don't like want to say I'm just a life coach, because I do so much more than that, but you know what I mean? Like, I had the fears, I had the self-doubts, but it's becoming aware of them and then making that choice again. It's always making that choice. And like you're like, oh shit, okay, something, I have to dig deeper. Like, something's going on. Like it could even be like body pain, you guys. Like, it's so crazy sometimes.
Oh man, that's a whole nother story. Just
Yeah,
becoming aware.
But it's so true. Like, well, I definitely was manifesting my mindset with my back pain. I kept confirming, my back hurts, my back hurts. Well, guess what? Your mind doesn't know the difference between reality and what you're telling it. So if I keep telling it my back hurts, well, it's going to keep hurting, right? But also I was like, I got to dig deeper. Am I not addressing things in my life, especially maybe your personal life versus business life? You're both, it doesn't matter, that might be manifesting in pain in your body. But I know that's a whole different topic. Again, the manifestation, like, power of your mind. Once I stopped saying my back pain. Away. After going to MRIs, a physical therapist, I literally was like, really? I'm a mindset coach and I didn't even pick up on that one? Like, it just happens. It happens. So like, it doesn't matter where you're at. It sometimes happens.
100%. It's funny that you say that, because I know we were talking, and my other mentor, Ben, who is like really connected to like mind body, he posed that same question to me, you know, when I went in and talked with him. He's just like, well, does it actually hurt? I'm like, man, what are you trying to say? Like, I don't understand. He's just like, everything's just a perception. I'm like, well, what does that mean? Like I can control my pain? Like, you're telling me like this is like controllable? And he's like, it's not that you don't have the pain. It's that you're not realizing what's causing the pain. And he's like, you're kind of tense. He's like, look at you now. He's like, take a big deep breath, close your eyes. And I do this with my clients. If everyone wants to do it really quick, close your eyes, take a big deep breath in. Let your shoulders drop, let your jaw drop, let your eyes drop. Where do you feel pain right now? Right? Be conscious. Are you stressed? Are you sweating? Why are you in a sympathetic and an arousal state right now when you can be just sitting here relaxing with your arms down and your face relaxed? Yeah. I wonder why I have pain in my traps.
Wow, that's so true though. Yep.
I'm always like you see me this whole time, right? If I could just, it's my state of mind, it's my state of being, it's my thoughts that I'm not aware of that are controlling like this reaction in my body. And then I feel the pain. But I'm not seeing, why am I feeling that way? Same thing with your lower back pain. I'm sure some type of psychological thing with you telling yourself you hurt all the time. Maybe you were bending weird the whole time, or like always touching it or hitting it or like massaging it too much, right? Like like what are we doing that's causing these issues?
Yeah.
Which is kind of a mind screw for anyone out there with pain.
Yeah, I know. I was frustrated. I was like, oh my God.
I know, right? Well, I'm glad that you're feeling better.
Thank you. Me too. I feel so good.
Good. Well, I do want to open kind of some discussion, because we're all in different stages of our life right now. And I know there's a few people on here that are going through some stuff where they need to make some shifts. And like, this is a really safe and a good place to talk about that. So if anyone wants to kind of talk about their story or ask any questions, that'd be awesome.
Well, I guess I'll speak up. Allie and I were talking earlier, actually just right before this call, and there's definitely a lot going on in my life right now that I'm kind of in a fog. I just recently lost a very, very close friend of mine, and I kind of had a big high this weekend with my competition. And then within that same day, I found out that I'd lost like one of my best friends. So there's been some like, just like everything is going on at the same time. But like prior to all this, when we had our retreat with Allie, I remember talking about just like trying to really figure out what my direction was in life, and just feeling kind of that lost. And, you know, I work as a club manager in a gym. You know, when I first took the job, I absolutely fell in love with the idea that I'd be helping people and making a change in their lives. But now that, you know, I think I'm, 8 months into the job, it's turning very salesy. And which to me is completely almost ruining the idea of the gym. It's really given me just this horrible taste in my mouth. And, I've gotten very comfortable with where I live. And right now I'm looking at this job and going, well, it's stability. It's an income. I have a 7-year-old daughter, but truthfully, like, it's not what I want to do. It's not where I want to be at forever. And so it's definitely those limiting thoughts of, it's that fear of, well, what do I do next? What is it really where I need to go? So I'm kind of what we were, saying earlier, I'm frozen and I'm not growing anymore. I'm not developing anymore. I'm just kind of like, okay, this is my job. This is what I'm doing. And then I go home. I'm not, and so I'm kind of losing that purpose anymore. I know I want to help people. I want to make a difference in people's lives. I love connecting with people. I, love making, that difference, but I'm stagnant right now. And I know big life decisions like this week just isn't going to happen. Mentally, I'm shot, but I know prior to all this, like, I was still feeling this way anyway. So yeah, so I think my biggest thing is, we kind of talked about it, when you were like, I had to make that jump. I had to make that move. And I've made those moves before in that jump. But I think, if I'm being honest, fear is definitely a big one. And I think it's targeting, what is that fear? What am I afraid of? I've made these moves before. I've joined the military. I decided to do a bikini competition because stepping on stage was terrifying, but I did it, but I guess I think it's just trying to find a core of who I am and how I'm going to get there, and that's, yeah. So that's kind of my personal
Thank you
story.
for sharing. I think it's good just to add, it's okay to have fear as long as you're not allowing it to paralyze you. You know what I mean? Like, I still have fear.
Right.
Like, oh my God, I have no idea what I'm doing next year or whatever, but like, you know what I mean? But one other tip I would just say, like, to add is like messy action. Like, I love that you say, like, you want to help people. Maybe you don't know how yet, but maybe
right.
Okay, you did the gym, you realize that's not it. Now you got to pivot and be like, okay, is it working at, like, I don't know, I'm literally going to throw out random things, like working at a nursing home or trying out online coaching or different like other career paths that help people, and just taking the messy action. Because like for me, that's how I started. I just wanted to help women feel good. So I went into personal training, and I realized, again, the gym, very, very salesy. So I was like, okay, well, these online coaches are doing it. I think I can do it. Did it. And like, it's a lot of work, and I'm not going to say it's easy, but then I, you got into it, but then I realized, like, this isn't it, like, I thought it was my purpose. Like, it's like I knew, but I didn't know. Right. And so I was like, okay, well, now what? Like, shoot, like, I thought I was going to do weight loss coaching. And then I realized, as I dug deeper with myself, and I was like, okay, my own journey has led me to where I'm at right now. Like, I started with health, and then I went into personal development and mindset. And then so that's where I did another pivot. And who knows, in a year from now, I could make another pivot. But like, it's not like we have to have like this, just looking at the end destination. It's like, okay, what are some different things that can get me here? I can feel that joy. I can feel fulfilled while, supporting myself. And it's okay to have the fear as long as you're making moves. Like you're doing it. You did a bikini like show. That's amazing. Not many people can even commit to that, right? Like, and going on stage, like I did it. I loved it. And it was that good for you. That's amazing. You're getting out of your comfort zone. So that is growth right there. You're not stagnant. Like maybe it's not career growth yet,
Right.
but it's still something, right?
Mm-hmm.
Have you shared your journey online at all?
Nope. No. I mean, like I make posts that are kind of like semi-related, but it's not like, here's my story and here's what I've been through. And I need to sit down and probably truthfully just even write it down for my sake, because sometimes to be honest, I don't think sometimes I give myself enough credit if I'm being 100% honest with stuff that I have been through, overcome, and like faced. And so, there's times I think that's what keeps me driving, is just that constant, I got to do more. There's got to be more out there. So I've got to always better myself. But honestly, I think that's could also be a fault, because I never am just like, I'm okay, I'm enough. I always am like trying to climb that ladder of, I've got to be more, I've got to be better, I've got to be seen better. And it's almost like with that in mind, it's that constant anxiety as well, and pushing myself more to where I don't rest,
I think
So
something that you would benefit from, because I actually learned this a few weeks ago in the training, is that humans and how our minds work, especially our unconscious minds and our conscious minds, we naturally are looking for the next thing. How can I improve? How can I be better? So like, just take a step back, and I'm going to tell you, that's never going to go away. Never going to go away. You're always going to want to do that. So now that you know that, you can just be like, okay, when you're feeling that, be like, take a step back and be like, I am doing everything that I can in this present moment with all the resources that I currently have. And knowing that, like, you're going to want to do that. That's okay. It just means you're very ambitious if you feel it strongly. But just know that that's just like part of our human nature, and just learning how to be a little bit more present, and kind of how we talked about, like, I'm sure, you're working with Allie, like calming down, and just little things, like more things will kind of click in, guiding you to where you might want to be, right? Even if it's like doing something on the side for now, just to test it out and do the messy action there while supporting yourself. But just know that unfortunately is a human nature characteristic that we can't.
Well, it's better to accept then.
Yeah. So when they said that to me, I was like, okay, this is a lot easier for me to accept, and it's been nicer the last few weeks.
Good deal.
Yeah, Rachel, I think some messy action, once you have some time, obviously to reflect and heal from those past weekend, it's going to be really important for you. And Tatiana's right. Like, you have so many strengths, and she doesn't even know half of it, but she's only heard a couple of things that you've done. And like, you have been through so much. And like, you've even mentioned that, like, you have so much that people can relate to, that you can help people. So you have that power, and you have that passion and that love and like that empathy for people. So that's all you really have to keep your mind on, because I truly believe that if you have all the right like characteristics, values, and morals set in yourself, then everything's going to work out if you just keep, taking the messy action step, and maybe starting a different career to figure out the other career. Because just like Tatiana, I was in the same spot, like graduated with exercise science. I was so lost in what I wanted to do with it that, like I said, it was a stupid degree and just bartended for 2 years before I even like went back to it. Right. Like, I didn't know I was going to go back into where I was, and hell, like I had no idea I was going to be like a mentor one day. Like, I didn't even have my life together. Right. But I had to go through all those experiences to get to where I am now. So kind of like I was saying, everything that was kind of happening recently in your life, there's a reason, and how you're going to spin it and see it.
Yep.
Okay. So it all works out. But I do think you writing your story, not only to share with others and get uncomfortable, but for yourself, just so you can see how far you have come. My biggest regret was not sharing my bikini prep story, not journaling when I went from depression to like the only thing I have are emails that I would send to my ex-boyfriend. And I'm glad I have those, because I'm like, wow, I really was in a really, really deep state. And I said, like, kind of, yeah, like I was said literally words where I'm like, I just want to help people. That's literally what I used to say in these emails when it came to like, I don't know what the hell I'm doing. And it just takes messy action. Maybe it's becoming a personal trainer, or maybe it's, well, I'm really bad at thinking of examples right now.
It's okay. I mean, that's one thing I do have right now, as silly as it is, like Snapchat. So like I was in a really bad toxic relationship, and Snapchat from a year ago, it's all over my face, and just how like miserable I was, and like it's bringing up from a year ago of like I was having to prove where I was at, what I was doing. So I'm looking at these and I'm like, oh my gosh, like that was my life a year ago, but look where I'm at right now. Like I'm still made those steps and I'm out of that. And that's where like I have to give myself those affirmations, like you grew out of that, you got out of it, you're not in it. And it's a journey, that's for sure. It's definitely a marathon, not a sprint. So
yeah.
So
I would say write your story out in a journal, in a video, even if it's just a video for yourself, just say it so you can see how much you've accomplished and just see how far you've come. So then in a year from now, you can also see how far you've come, right?
Yep, that's very true. I like that.
Yeah, that was good advice. And Rachel, you are a leader and you are an inspiration, and you have some really good people in your core group. But we kind of discussed getting better people in your tribe. And I swear the second you surround yourself with people at a higher frequency that are out getting their goals and like love their life and like give you just like the mindset that you need to keep moving forward, it's just going to become so much easier. Like being in the couple groups that I'm in, I mean, I'm technically in 3. You know, I have my own group, I have Graham's group, and I have Ben's group. And like every single person I come in contact with is fucking happy. I mean, for the most part, you know, like obviously you weren't happy, but I know you're a great person, so the energy's still there. Like I rarely have to subject myself to any type of, I guess, low frequency or negative vibe. So maybe that's something that's going on in your life or in anyone else's life on here. When you feel like you're coming high and low and you're kind of figuring out your vision, but then you doubt yourself, why are you doing that? Are people telling you those things? Like, is it your environment? You know, kind of start thinking about all those obstacles as well. Because your thoughts, like, sometimes you don't know why you have them, and sometimes it's because people are like feeding them into your mind.
Yep 100%. I like that.
Yeah. Sweet. We have just a little bit more time if anyone else wants to like ask a question or share a story, get any clarity. Emily or Anais, you guys have anything you want to add? No? All right, we got some crickets.
No, good. Well, I guess I could just end what I would say is that if you're ever feeling in a state like you're overwhelmed, you're anxious, you're depressed, sad, angry, whatever it may be, and you're just like in that state of being, you're like, I just don't want to fucking feel this way anymore. Like, you know, when you just get like that, the number one thing I recommend is to take a second and just observe and be like, wait, what was I just thinking about? Because everything stems from a thought. Everything in life stems from a thought. A thought creates a feeling. And so when you're in that feeling, you naturally, your brain unconsciously creates thoughts to validate and to confirm that feeling. And guess what? Then you're just like in this circle, thought, feeling, thought, feeling. So if you're depressed or anxious, then what happens? It becomes an attitude, which then becomes a personality, which then becomes your personal reality, right? So like, even if you're in a funk, if you're anxious, you're like, okay, what was I just thinking about? What are the thoughts that are going out through my head? And then as you become aware of that, try shifting focus. So don't lie to yourself and be like, I'm happy if you're genuinely upset about a situation, but just do something that's going to maybe bring you into those happy thoughts. Like our coach Graham had us do this, like maybe it's a song from like the 90s that like gets you, you know, wicked happy. Or you think of like, I don't know, for me, like my grandparents, like they're the cutest things ever. Or I literally love Shrek. Like that just puts me in a good mood. So like do things like that to bring your, you know, get you into a state of being, but also just choosing to think thoughts that are going to serve you, to bring you into a new state of being. Because 80% of our thoughts are unconscious. So that means we're unaware of 80% of the thoughts we think about every day, and they repeat every single day. So That's just like a tip I always want to give, because that's the one thing that really impacted me once I learned like how it all like stemmed from a thought. It really helps me get out of my anxiety and get out of depression. And I do believe like, you know, there are like situations and everything, but just in general, I just started putting that label on me, literally like a label, like I have anxiety, I am depressed, and just owning that versus trying to improve myself. That's my personal story. But I definitely think if you're feeling a certain way, you want to get out of it, focus on the thoughts and the things that you're telling yourself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and to add on to that, that's a great thing for people to become aware of. And when you observe, because that's the first step, and you have that thought that you're seeing and it's creating an emotion, we want to like somehow change that emotional state from happening. So one of the ways you can do that is by going into that thought. Think about it. Let it come back to you. Experience the feeling. Then tell yourself it's okay. Tell yourself you forgive yourself.
Yes.
Think about what you're grateful for that experience is connected to, because even in the worst of times, it all happens for a reason. And there is gratitude to be taken from every experience, even though it seems with some of them that it's really hard to find that. But I can guarantee that there's something. So when you can connect gratitude now to this negative experience, your emotional state should change when you think of it.
Yeah.
So it's a good little activity to do if you guys do come aware. So to reiterate some of the stuff Tatiana said, you know, I want to leave you guys with action steps. So one, why don't you guys go get out that book, The Perfect Day Formula? That will help you get on a better guide with your day-to-day actions. And then when it comes down to the action steps to take to kind of take control of your thoughts, it starts with observing for sure. And then maybe you want to switch to breathing. That's free, it's easy, takes only a second. Become aware of how your body feels and the state of mind that you're in. Remember that even food and exercise has a lot to do with thoughts, and that like the hormones and the dopamine and serotonin and all the feel-good hormones that you need, they come from the food, the gut, and the exercise, light as well. And then just to end with, you know, do affirmations, do some journaling, go on your daily walk. You can kill a couple birds with one stone again, going outside, getting the sun, getting the exercise in. And last but not least, like reaching out, finding a friend that you can confide in, or a mentor or a coach, someone that can help lead you a little bit closer to some of these thoughts that you are having, or bring you into an awareness. Because just like me and Tatiana are like, yeah, we didn't even know we were having these issues until like one day they kind of just started vomiting up in front of us, and we needed guidance as well to get out of it. Sweet. Well, thank you for being on here, girl.
Thank you. Thank you guys for having me. Thank you for opening up as well, Rachel.
Yeah, thank you, Rachel. Sweet. Well, if no one else has anything they want to add, then we will go ahead and close out. So everyone who's watching this recording, go ahead and post maybe how you feel like you're going to be able to overcome some of these thoughts, whether or not it pertains to any of the action steps that we just stated. And if you have a story that you want to share, remember sharing the community grows a lot of like awareness and strength. So the more you share, the more powerful it's going to be. Alrighty, girl. I appreciate you being on, and I'll talk to you guys later.
Bye, guys. Have a good night.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Bye.